The judge overseeing the New York criminal trial of former President Donald Trump has warned him he could go to jail, but over something entirely separate from the charges that he's currently facing. It would be for repeatedly attacking witnesses and jurors in the trial. Hugo Lowell is here to get into all this with us. He is a political investigations reporter for The Guardian. Hugo, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So will the judge's decision regarding Trump's gag order compel him to stop violating it, do you think?
It'll be an interesting question. You know, Trump is going to have to be back before Judge Merchan on Thursday for a second contempt hearing because prosecutors in the DA's office have found additional instances of Trump allegedly violating the gag order. You know, so far he's been fined $9,000, but in a very telling passage in the judge's own written order, it's not clear that $9,000, which is going to be a drop in the bucket for Trump, whether that will be any sort of deterrent whatsoever. And actually, the judge wrote in his formal order that he would consider jail time for the former president if he didn't stop violating the gag order. And I think that's kind of where we're headed if Trump doesn't stick to being a criminal defender.
That would certainly be notable. Hugo, the former president, has been complaining that this trial is keeping him off the campaign trail. But last Wednesday, when court was in recess, he went golfing in New Jersey. What is he planning to do tomorrow when court is once again in recess for the Wednesday?
Yeah, look, he's got rallies scheduled all the way through basically his entire criminal trial proceedings. For him to basically complain that he's being forced off the campaign trail may be true in some respects, but it's certainly not true in others. I mean, it's not as though Trump was holding rallies during the middle of the week when he wasn't at trial. Typically, those rallies came on Saturdays and Sundays, where he is still free to hold those rallies. And now he's doing it on the off day on Wednesdays because they're only at trial Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And so he's got opportunities to be on the trail. And if you speak to his own advisors, they like to trumpet the fact that he's been going to bodegas in New York. He's been holding many appearances around the city. And so it's not an argument that really holds any water. And to be honest, he's managed to be out on the trail just as much as he would have otherwise been.
Hugo, I want to ask you about this new Time magazine interview that Trump did, in which he said that he's considering pardoning all of the January 6th defendants. Now, he said before that he might pardon some of the defendants. Obviously, he's called them hostages. Were you surprised to read that he is actually considering pardoning all 800 of them if he's reelected?
I wasn't, and only insofar as the fact that Trump has continually promised this at his rallies, and this is a talking point that his campaign has pressed for months now, the idea that he will pardon everyone connected to the January 6th violence. I mean, it's quite extraordinary if you think about it, because a lot of these defendants have been convicted not only in bench trials, but in jury trials in the District of Columbia. And so for the former president to come out and say, I'm going to pardon all these people and effectively endorse political violence, which is what happened on January 6th, is kind of this extraordinary claim. But it's also something that Trump has been saying for so long that I think it's kind of part and parcel of what Trump says and does, and it's kind of baked in for a lot of voters. And so I will be interested to see whether, if he wins the election, whether he goes down that path.
Hugo, there was a lot of reporting again today about the possibility that Trump was nodding off during the trial. What can you tell us?
I think that's accurate. It's difficult to tell if he's actually sleeping, and I will say, the trial today was one of the more long days. There was a lot of testimony from witnesses where they had to read out parts of emails, where they had to affirm that they were custodians of records. And so I think it was one of the more boring days in court. But Trump has been resting his eyes, shall we say. You can see from the monitors in the overflow room that his eyelids droop, and then he jolts back upright when there is something more interesting for him to focus on. For instance, when there's witness testimony that's more substantial and material. It's not clear if he's actually sleeping, but certainly it appears as though he's had his eyes closed for various amounts of the trial.
You certainly have a very interesting bird's eye view. Hugo Lowell, thanks so much for joining us today.